Who's the black private dick that's a sex machine to all the chicks? You damn right.
Welcome to another Radical Republicans live show. I am your host, Chief Jarome Bell. I'm going to check the chat. Welcome to everybody that's coming in tonight. I see you. I appreciate you guys being here, of course. I see you, Joseph. Also, happy Palm Sunday. Happy Palm Sunday to all the Christians out there. Even though Christians are being forced out of Bethlehem today. I see you over there, Susan. Thank you for tuning in as well. Over there in the Rumble land. And I see you over there in the Getter land too. See you, K9 Girl, and all of the others over there. I'll be back at you in a second. But so here's what we have. I'm gonna take this banner. As you can see below, you got my Rumble channel, my YouTube, my Getter, and my new Subscribe Star. So if you want to show a little love, go over to subscribestar.com/Jarome Bell and subscribe. You'll catch all the shows there if you missed them, because I'm going to end up shutting down Rumble here for free viewership. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to put this show behind the paywall. I don't think I'm going to put it behind the paywall, but if you want to show your brother some love, go over there and check it out. And we'll throw it back up anyway. It's subscribestar.com/Jarome Bell. It's a couple of things when I was preparing for the show. A couple of some updates over in the Middle East. I guess the night before the show last night, because I'm not sure that the military is going to tell you about it, but the Iran struck the base. Even though we've won the war, and we have air superiority, and we've knocked out all of their Navy and Air Force. Somehow, Iran was able to once again hit a Saudi Arabia base, hit the Saudi Arabia base, and wound 12 more Americans. So I'm thinking that's going to fold into the count of at least 302. And so that happened while prepping but for the show. But 29 days. We're on day 29, and so I'm going to take this show real slow this week, so everybody can really understand what's going on. And I'm sure you do if you're paying attention, but in case you're not, then of course you're going to get the truth here. You're going to get it unedited, uncensored, unfiltered, unscripted, and definitely always unapologetic, because that's just how we roll, because you don't get the truth. You get biased truth. You get, shows that are one way. You get the liberal shows, you get the conservative shows, and you don't get everything together, which I think as Americans we should get, and let us determine what's what, right? So I hope y'all had a good week. Hope y'all have a good, like I say, week heading up into Easter next Sunday. And I'm debating if I'm going to have an Easter show, because I may not be here, may not be in the studio, may not even be at home. So I'm debating I may take Easter off next week. We'll see what's happening in the world. If the world is not taking Easter off, I may not either. But like I said, we're at 29 days. So that's how long the United States of America has been at war with Iran. Even though if you listen to President Trump, we've won the war and it's over. And so I'm going to play a clip before I even finish this open. I'm going to finish the open first. I got to finish my thoughts first. Then I'll play the clip, because the clip is just so, dare I say, amazing, or dare I say psychotic, dare I say bold, dare I say stupid. I can use so many words to go with this clip, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I guess it really depends on if you're an open thinker. If you're part of the cult, you'll say rah, rah, rah. If you're not, boo. But if you're just a critical thinker and you're listening, and you listen to this statement, to me, I won't say to you, but to me, it's something that'll get some people killed, in my opinion. So we still have a war that was never declared. That date, April 13th, where he's going to have to shit or get off the pot to go to Congress and ask for an authorization use of force, military force, AOMF. But it looks like he's going to try to get the bang for his buck by moving all of these military assets into position, because this is a war that Congress never voted on, a war that the American people were never asked about, even though we have people that are cheering this on, right? That are cheering this on. So 29 days, at least 13 that we know of. That put like this, that the Department of Defense and the Pentagon has officially released. I know that there's more. 302. There was what was it? 290, 290. But after last night, 302, and I'm hearing more today, possibly, that number may have moved again. So Iran struck a base in Saudi last night. 12 more Americans wounded. So as we go live today, like I say, that number is around 302. And tonight, again, the President of the United States is calling it a win, and I'm not going to spoil the clip. I'm not going to spoil the clip, but he's calling it a win, and I'll just leave it right there. But if you're joining us late, or just joining us, or joining this show for the first time, because we have had some newcomers in the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you a lot for joining the show. This is a self-produced show, and it's live, so you may get some quirks every now and then. I may have to take some pauses to do some things, and I may even have the hiccups like I had for one whole show, but I served 27 years in the United States Navy. I am Chief Jarome Bell, and I do have skin in the game. I have a son in the Air Force right now, and this is what I need everyone to understand. And this is, what people don't understand because I'm not too boisterous, I don't think. Susan may disagree, Carolyn may disagree, K9 may disagree, and I know Joe's like, what? But I need you to understand something. I am not here to root for a team. Even though I spent 27 years in the military, I served this country honorably and multi-decorated. I fought and actually protected and actually obeyed my oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, not a man, not a party. So I'm not here to score political points, even though I did run for Congress twice, and that's probably why I didn't make it, because I did not say that I would kiss someone's ass and vote for them for Speaker of the House. So the Uniparty spent $7 million to make sure I didn't make it in. So I'm here because someone has to tell you the truth. Someone. So I tell you what, let's start there. Let's start with the truth, okay? On February 28th, 2026, the United States and our best ally, as they call it, right? Israel, launched a surprise attack on Iran. No declaration of war. A tweet. We got a tweet or a truth about it. No authorization for military use of force from Congress. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, cited emergency powers under Article 2 of the Constitution and called it a day. So for those that may not know, let me tell you what Article 2 does and does not say, and I've been repeating this over the past couple of weeks, but for the newbies maybe, and for those that just was not paying attention, the president is the commander-in-chief. This is Article 2. That means he commands the military. What it does not mean, and what the founders were crystal clear about, is that one man gets to unilaterally take this nation to war. It does not mean that. It does not mean that one man gets to say we are going to war. Article 1, Section 8, Congress declares war. Period. Period. That's the Constitution. That's the law of this land. And nobody, not the Republicans, not the Democrats, not the media, not Mark Levin, not Ben Shapiro, nobody is saying that out loud with the force that it deserves because they are Israel first, but I'm saying it tonight on this show. This war was not authorized, and at least 13 that you all know of, I know that there's more, are dead. At least 302 are wounded, many with brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries. And the man who sent them there just said that we're going to have a 10-day pause on bombing Iranian energy plants. But I believe before I came on the show, Israel and the United States, I believe, had bombed one of Israel's power plants. I have to check that, though. But I believe something came across the wire about that. If anybody out there can check that while I'm on the show and let me know, put it in the chat, I will announce it again. But I believe I saw that. But a 10-day pause, supposedly, on bombing Iranian energy plants. And it's not because he's winning. Make no mistake about it. It is not because he's winning. Even though he said we've won, and I'm gonna I'm gonna play you something that if someone's winning, they don't say. If you're in a boxing match, you would never say this to your opponent. If you're in a fight in the street, you would never say this to your opponent. If you're in a game of football, basketball, baseball, soccer, tiddlywinks, tennis, you wouldn't say this to your opponent. But it's not because he's winning, it's because he can't open the Strait of Hormuz. Because he can't open it. Our bases are still getting hammered. Our bases are virtually empty, except what we call skeleton crews that try to keep the lights on. But the reason is because he needs time to position these ships and our assets, our MUs, our 75th and 82nd Airborne. 75th, I don't mean they're not airborne, but those are the Green Berets. The 82nd Airborne, of course. You guys know who that is. So to get these assets in position that are not in position yet, I believe the Tripoli just arrived into the Arabian Sea yesterday. So they're close to being in position, but that's not a victory. That is not a victory. That is not a win. That's a pause. And it's sort of like a ceasefire. However, Iran's not, they're not buying it. They're like, nah, we good. Nah, we good. You can keep your little ceasefire. We're going to keep obliterating Israel because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. We're going to keep hitting Saudi Arabia because they're still letting you use the bases, right? So before I go on, I'm going to play this clip. And it's a clip of the press secretary reading a statement from Donald Trump to, I suppose, the IRGC of Iran. Who's ever running Iran right now? We've killed all the leadership, but we won. We've killed everybody, but for some reason we're still pushing troops into the region. We're still going to overtake or try to take Karg Island or another island in the right in the U of the Straits. But you tell me if this is something that a winner might say. That a winner might say, K9 girl, I see. Okay, you tell me. You listen very, very closely to this, okay?
President's preference is always peace. There does not need to be any more death and destruction. But if Iran fails to accept the reality of the current moment, if they fail to understand that they have been defeated militarily and will continue to be, President Trump will ensure they are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal.
You lost. Sit down, right? You've already lost, okay? So stop shooting missiles at us. You've already lost. Stop blowing up our bases, dude. You already lost. You've already lost. Stop blowing up Israel. Leave Tel Aviv alone. You've already lost. You've already lost. Stop blowing up our airplanes sitting on the tarmac. You've already lost. But I'm still sending troops because you already lost. So please don't attack us anymore. Please. What? I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. Is that something that you say when you're still getting fired on? Dude, you already lost. Will you stop? When you're getting punched in the face, dude, you lost. Will you stop hitting me? Dude, I've already knocked you down once. Okay, I've knocked you down once. You know, it's like being in a boxing match, right? And you get a good punch in and you knock him down, and then you stand over him and he gets up and you get a standing 8 count, right? You say, dude, look, you've already lost. I've knocked you down. So just stop. Just don't come out to the center of the ring no more. Don't throw any more punches at me. That's troubling. I mean, so what is he going to do? Is he going to nuke? Is Donald Trump crazy enough? Is he deranged enough? Is he mad enough that he'll nuke Iran? Because they're not laying down, because these people are fighting for their country. Is he going to nuke them? He's going to hit them harder than they've never been hit before. He said that a couple of weeks ago, and they still gotten up, right? So is he going to nuke Iran because they are punching back, because they're fighting back like good warriors and good soldiers do? Is that what it is? Dude, we told you this wasn't going to be easy. This is this blows my mind. Carolyn say, good evening. Good at being late, but welcome. This blows my mind that the president, you know, I would actually be okay with Pete Hegseth saying this, because he's a dumbass too. Other shit that he says, you know, we negotiate with bombs. You are a fool. You are a fool, man. And so for the president of the United States to put this statement out for the press secretary, I sort of felt sorry for her even having to read that. I really did. I really did. I sort of felt sorry for her having to read that, because is that what you do as the president of the United States when you're winning, when you've already won? It's embarrassing. Hey, Pure Blood, I see you. Pure Blood, did you just hear that clip? Were you here? I would hope he wouldn't nuke him. I mean, but dude, I don't. I mean, this guy. I don't know who this guy is. He's strange. He's acting kind of strange. And here's the deal. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I'll tell you guys something. And you know, and I think I've told you, you know, when it happened last week. I honestly believe this is this is desperation to me. I mean, this seems kind of desperate, right? To be begging, because he's sort of begging them to stop and please don't get up, because I don't want to have to hit you again type deal, or I don't want to have to take another punch. I don't really want to fight anymore. This is the look, man, I really don't want to fight anymore. Okay, I don't. You know, yeah, yeah, and I was just reading the chat where Israel, the Zionists, attacked Iran from February to March 2nd, and then they invaded Lebanon, and they've lost 100 Merkava tanks, crew for each. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. I mean, and here's the thing too. Israel is getting their asses kicked. Look, Israel, Hezbollah, and Yemen. They all launched attacks on Tel Aviv, coordinated. We've already won. We have the skies where we have, you know, control over the skies. We have the Navy. We have, dude, but you don't have control of the missiles, man. And they launched a coordinated attack on Israel at the same time last night, and Israel has zero defense to that. This is why I think Trump came out with that, okay? Because look, and I think Iran knows. It seems like everybody knows, but they don't want to say it because they don't want to be wrong. Well, I'm going to say it. Bibi Netanyahu is dead, and he died over 10 days ago. Today's he's died on like the 12th or 13th of March. He's dead. You can see the AI they're bringing out. You can see the Netanyahu 2.0, the guy with the rubber mask, and it's all bundled up down, around here, right? And I think it has more to do. Trump is looking for an off ramp, and he needs to, but he's trying. I understand this strength, show this strength thing, dude. But sometimes maybe like, hey, you know what? This was dude. You can get out. Bibi's dead. Hey, this was Israel's war. Hey, man, we came in. We tried to help him out. Bibi's dead. We're going home. We're good. I mean, dude, it's better than getting Marines killed because that's exactly what's going to happen. If you drop Marines into Iran, they're going to get slaughtered. They're going to get. We've already and this because Trump has too many yes men around him and too many Zionists. When I say we've, I mean the United States totally miscalculated Iran. This war from the beginning. We should have been out the first week when they blew up our bases. Like, oh shit, we didn't know y'all could do that. We're good. Okay, all right, we out. We good. Okay, peace. Israel can do what they want to do, but and even Trump said it. Even Trump said it himself, right? So for all you cult members, oh, he didn't say that. Yeah, he did say it. He said, oh, they really surprised us because we didn't think that they were going to attack all the bases like that, all these countries at the same time. Trump said that. He said it. He said it. So, I don't think we're in good shape. Because let me tell you, I'm going to tell you about our bases. I have some contacts still. Okay, I have people that were on those bases. I have people that I know that have died on those bases, and they haven't mentioned them yet. But I'm going to tell you the truth because the Pentagon isn't. Hegseth is not going to tell you. Trump isn't going to tell you. These other talk shows aren't going to tell you because they just want to stay on the air. Me, I don't care. I don't get paid to do this anyway unless you guys go to my subscribe star and help a brother out. But 17 U.S. military, diplomatic, and air defense sites have been damaged. And I mean, when I say damaged, almost to non-usability. 11 American bases have been hit. And 13 of our bases in the region are nearly uninhabitable. And that's a quote from the New York Times. And that's actually a quote from my sources as well, especially Bahrain. I mean, Al Udeid in Qatar, our largest U.S. military command center in the Middle East. I've spent a lot of time at Al Udeid Air Base. A lot. I've flown in there. We've stayed in what we call Tent City. And if any of my people are listening to me, stayed in Tent City in Qatar. I mean, they've been hit multiple times, right? Al Dhafra in the UAE, the satellite systems, the radar equipment, the infrastructure damaged, gone. Ali Al Salam Air Base in Kuwait, our aircraft shelters, over a dozen structures destroyed or damaged. And you see the damage in Saudi Arabia. I mean, we had 3 AWACS. We had 3 planes. Well, 1 AWAC and I think, 2 or 3 new from the new attacks hit KC-130s, fuel planes. I mean, if they keep taking out our C-130, we don't have a lot of C-130s in inventory. We don't have a lot of AWAC. If they keep hitting our planes and we can't refuel, there's no way to do this mission. There's no way. See, Iran and President Trump said this yesterday or the day before too. He's come to the conclusion. He said they're very smart. Yeah, you think? You think after 29 days you come to the conclusion that they're very smart because you still haven't even knocked out a fourth of their arsenal because it's so deep underground. You can't get to it, and you keep bomb busting, sending bomb busters, over, right? Those bunker bomb busters, right? And you still can't hit it, still can't get to it. You get to the door. That's about it. Yeah, you listen to the media here and you think, oh, we've blown up the nuclear facilities and oh yeah, we obliterated them again, right? I mean, the Navy's Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, where I've been numerous times. I've stayed in that hotel that was bombed. I mean, it's reduced from what I understand to fewer than 100. They call it mission critical. I call it a skeleton crew personnel, and all the ships had to leave port or they were going to get bombed. So CENTCOM, our major base, CENTCOM has been forced to disperse thousands of troops away from the primary installations. They're sleeping in temporary locations and they're being hunted. They have less protection. They have improvised command setups and they have degraded communications and they have spies, and Iran is looking for them. They're searching for them. And once they find where they're staying, they're hitting the hotel where they are staying at. I mean, so if you look at the estimate, let's say the taxpayer damage, I say tax because we're going to end up paying for it, right? To just the infrastructure. In the first 2 weeks alone, we're talking over 800 million. 800 million, just that. We're not even talking about the planes. I mean, the one F-35 that was shot down, that was damaged, that's out of commission, $100 million. That AWAC, what was that, $80 million AWAC or something like that was out. But the President Trump says, we've won. Stop fighting. Stop hitting back. Stop getting up. Please. Please, we've won. Can you just take the defeat? We've won already. And he said that. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me for telling you the truth. He said that. And I'm quoting what he said. The war is very complete, pretty much. People. If you know anything about fighting, just fighting, right? This is not what winning looks like. This is not what winning looks like. The Strait. I mean, you talk about the Strait, right? The Strait of Hormuz. Because this is what it's all about now. Truthfully, this is what the war is all. It went in as something else, regime change. They knew they're not going to get that's not going to happen. We're going to get regime change in Israel, and there'll be a regime change in Iran, but not like we want it to. That guy, that Shah that was at CPAC is not going to be the ruler and leader of Iran. I don't care how many times he appear at freaking CPAC, which is down. So we're talking 20% of the world's oil. One of the most strategically critical choke points on the planet, still controlled by Iran. We've won. We've won. Dude, take your defeat. Take your defeat, the president says. But the straits are still controlled by Iran. That's not what winning looks like. Iran's parliament, see, because they have a system. It's not, see, people bought into this belief that, oh, if you kill the Ayatollah and a couple of the people with them, it's just going to all collapse. See, but let me tell you what Iran is doing, right? Iran. And keep this in mind too, right? Because we have, see, they want to tell you this. We won, but we took the sanctions off Iran so they can actually sell the oil, right? And they can make money, right? We did that, right? So what what Iran's parliament is doing right now, they're forming. I don't think anybody else has said this but me. You guys let me know if you've heard anybody else say what I'm about to tell you, unless you're on my Facebook, right? But they're formalizing fees for ships that want to pass through. So They're literally charging tolls on the commerce. While we bomb them and while we tell them the war is over, they're making money. They're making money. You know, and I believe it's like up to $2 million a vessel to pass. So, Trump says, here's what Trump said last week, right? He said, yeah, Iran, they gave us a present, a pretty good present. We talked about it, and we agreed, to, they got 8 vessels, passing through the Straits of Hormuz, and they gave us a deal. Now, they gave me a big present, is what he said, right? They gave me a big present. And the big present was, instead of 8 vessels going through, they let 10. They gave them 2 more. But what Trump didn't tell you is that each one of those ships had to pay up to $2 million to be passed through. That was their toll, and most of it, if not all of it, had to be paid in yuan. That's what he's not telling you. That's the gaslighting. And our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, he was just at the G7. This little prick, I dare I call him a bitch, but he was just at the G7 meeting criticizing NATO, just like Trump criticizing NATO for not helping reopen the strait. Dude, it's not their war. NATO, and that's what NATO said. NATO said, this isn't our war. Dude, you guys started this shit. You and Israel started this shit. The straits were open before February 28th. Everything was fine until you guys wanted to go and bomb Iran. This is not our war. They're not wrong. Guess what? They're not. They're not wrong at all. It's not NATO's war. I mean, I'm a big proponent. Like, we shouldn't be in NATO anyway. But it's not their war, and it's not even America's war under the law, under the Constitution. It's not even America's war. It's one man's war. Okay, I'll say 2. Him and Bibi. Now it's one man's war because Bibi's dead. And the straits are still closed. The straits are still closed. So I don't know if that's winning. If you guys tell me, is that winning? Now, you think so? What are you saying, Pure Blood? You say I think so. You think so? What are you thinking so to? That Trump is gonna nuke Iran? No, I don't think it's that stupid. I mean, if he does that, oh my, America is unsafe for the rest of our lives if that ever took place. I think you can go ahead and throw it in the chat what you're referring to, but then I'll answer you when I come back to the chat. Because I'm monitoring, like 4 different pages. And then we have to talk about this. I mean, this is President Trump has did something that no other president in my lifetime that I know about has done. He's been able to put Iran and Iraq together against the United States. Iraq has declared war on the United States. Their factions. And we left Iraq. We had to evacuate. They gave and this isn't news. The Pentagon's not going to tell you. The mainstream media is not going to tell you. Steve Bannon's not going to tell you. MSNBC is not going to tell you. None of these people aren't going to tell you. But the factions in Iraq, they gave us 24 hours to leave. They said, we'll give you 24 hours. And we vacated Iraq. We left. And in the process of all of this, Israel wanted to open up another front. They said, okay, You guys take care of Iran. We're gonna go and we're gonna take Lebanon. They are getting their asses handed to them. Okay, because all while this was going on, Hezbollah, they were chilling, they were down, they were in the cut. Over the past year, they haven't done anything. They were supposed to be defanged after the Lebanon ceasefire, right? Israel thought they was just going to go in there and take more land like they did in Gaza. So Hezbollah is back. So they started firing rockets at northern Israel again this month. And where they're at now, it is a battle like Joe said, right? Joe said that they tried to come in and then they invaded Lebanon, and oh my God, they've lost 100 Merkava tanks, crew of 4 each. You do the math. I count 4,000. I count 4,000. Right? 400 in there, but 4,000 in the news that Israel has lost. Trying to invade. Right there in, what is it, southern Lebanon. Trying to take it. Susan say that worries me. What's that? And like I say, while they're doing that, I mean, Hezbollah, of course, supportive of Iran. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Their boys in Yemen has jumped in. Yemen was chilling, right? They was just chilling. Dude, they had all this planned. Do you guys realize that our military brains have been outsmarted by, somebody called them jihadis or no hajis. Somebody on my Facebook page or something called them hajis. I'm like, dude, that's so like, one, immature, two, totally racist, three, you don't respect your opponent. And we didn't respect them. And they are surgically destroying Israel, surgically have destroyed our bases in the Middle East, and after months of, Israel hammering Lebanon despite that ceasefire, man, Lebanon and Hezbollah, hey, Israel got a fight on their hands, man. They're saying, Israel's military is saying that they're not going to have enough guys because the reservists aren't fighting. The reservists are not coming, even though they've called up like 400,000 and trying to call up some more. They're not going. They're like, nah, we're good. We're not going to die for this shit. We're good. But I hear they're losing a lot of men. So the war is spreading. There's no end in sight. I don't see an end. And we are smack dab in the middle of it. Again, without a vote. Again, without a declaration of war. Again, without a strategy that makes sense to anyone who's actually been in uniform. Joe, does this make sense to you at all? I mean, you've been around, right? Anybody in uniform. Does this strategy even make sense? You don't even have to even know a bunch about military strategy. Hell, if you just play Risk, right? Anybody play Risk, right? This is what Trump is playing. Trump and Hegseth is playing the game of Risk. That's exactly what it seems like to me. They're sitting back, rolling the dice, and trying to see how much territory that they can take. And Trump said something that's preposterous. I don't know if I downloaded that, but Hegseth said that was preposterous about Trump is redrawing the lines of greater North America. Greater North America. This is what he's calling it, from Greenland down, whatever. Let me see. I think I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can clip this. I'm gonna send this. So I'm gonna play this clip here once I get it downloaded. And this is Pete Hegseth talking about President Trump in the new lines of the world. He's redrawn the maps of the world. I mean, isn't this how Rome fell? Isn't this how Rome fell, trying to conquer and take over so much territory and stuff, right? I'm gonna try to catch this real quick. Give me a minute. uh, okay. Hopefully this will download. So all while we're in the middle of this war with Iran and against an opponent that we want them to stop, dude, stop. Will you guys just cut it out? You lost already. Will you just stop it? I can't help but laugh, man. I honestly can't help but laugh. But this is Hexeth. I'm gonna play this. Let me get it downloaded first. I mean, so this is the stuff that they're thinking about and I mean doing, even though we're in the middle of a war, man. And see what I play. In the middle of in the middle of a quagmire. I don't know how long that's gonna take if it downloads, but let's see. But I'll play it when it downloads. But we're in the middle. Okay, I don't think you will. I meant is Nettie Boo Boo dead? Yeah. I pretty much totally 99.9.9999999% believe that Benjamin Malachowski is dead. Yeah. 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 If I had to lay a bet on it, if I had to lay a bet on it, I would bet on it. Yeah, I would. I would. Yeah. Yeah, his plane has been at Landstow for a long time. That's one reason. But welcome K3333666 to the show. I see you in the Getter chat. Welcome. You don't have a face or anything, but that's cool. So it's just gonna take a minute for that to upload because it's a nice size file. But sometimes when I'm online, when I'm actually doing the show, it takes a little longer to upload, so I can get the clip into the show. But as soon as it upload, we'll do that. All right. So, but I mean, the bottom line is this. So this is what I need you to hold on to in your mind tonight. Okay, just continue to keep holding on to this. We're 29 days into an unauthorized war. At least the official number 13 of our people are dead. At least 302 are wounded. There's many more than that because they're not, and I need you guys to understand this. They are not counting contractors. They're not counting the mercenaries that were on the ground. They're not counting the contractors that work for these other companies. They're not. The Halliburtons and the people like that. Bases are still on fire. Saudi Arabia still getting hit. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed unless Iran is letting them pass if they pay their toll. And I'm hearing there's like 2,000 ships, 2,200 ships. They're just sitting out there. They don't want to pay the cost to go back around or to go another route. So they're just sitting there hoping that something happens, but they're just sitting there, over 2,200 ships. Hezbollah and Yemen is back in the fight. President Trump says, Iran, you've lost. Lay down your fists, admit defeat, all while Iran rejected our peace plan. President Trump bought himself 10 more days because, and to my opinion, I guess not because we're winning. Assets need to get into position so he can send those Marines in there to die. And I'm just going to be blunt. And those are my brothers and sisters in arms. And I don't want any more bloodshed of American forces on foreign soil, especially for a war that was not ours to begin with. So we have that. Meanwhile, TSA agents are still working for free, but Homeland Security gets funded. Department of the what is it? ICE. ICE gets funded, and you have to understand this, man. These TSA agents, God bless you guys. I mean, they some of these people are donating plasma just to pay their bills. You guys have to understand that, man. What's really going on? They're working. They'll probably get back pay and all that when it's all over. But damn, I mean, the rent's due now. So they're donating plasma to pay their bills. But ICE is fully funded. And I'm going to tell you something in here that's going to piss you off. It should. If this doesn't, if what I'm about to tell you next don't piss you off, then I'm gonna go out and say that you're just not American and you just don't give a shit. So ICE has what 75 million billion or something. TSA has nothing. But Jared Kushner, this what and I'm still trying to figure out. I know he's the president's nephew, but he has a bigger role. This guy is that. I bet I can't say this. I can't say that on air, but Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, who's Jewish, he's in Davos pitching 180 skyscrapers on the Gaza coastline with, here's the part I need you to understand, 1.25 billion of our tax money just got transferred to him without congressional approval to something called the Board of Peace. Yeah, so this is the show tonight. This is what we're covering. So I need you guys to stay with me. Just stay with me, man, because we have a lot more. We have so much more to talk about, so much more than any other talk show will talk about, I believe. Video still loading, man. It's crazy. Yeah, they say they just funded them, but they still don't know if that funding is authorized. So the president said it. So I'm with you, pure blood. But from what I understand, my sources in DC say that, yeah, they say that they're funded, but they still have to see if that funding is legal. GOP Ginger, welcome to the Radical Republicans live show. Welcome to the Lion's Den, as we call it here. I mean, I'm hoping they're funded and I'm hoping it's legal, but they are really checking to see if it's authorized. So they haven't been paid yet. So, when we're talking about, I'm a big Constitution. I mean, I swore an oath to the Constitution, and so I'm going to talk about the oath that all of us and all of them they swore to defend. But and this is why I call them communists, because none of them are living up to the oath. None of them are honoring the oath that they took. Every service member takes it. Every president takes it. Every member of Congress takes it. And I've said it earlier, I do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's the main line of it. The Constitution, not the commander in chief, the Constitution, not Israel, the Constitution, not Congress, the Constitution, not Donald Trump, the Constitution, not Jared Kushner, the Constitution. And I've already been through it, but I feel like I just have to keep repeating what the Constitution actually says about the war, because obviously people may not be listening and you just may not know. So here's the civics class again. Article 1, Section 8. Congress shall have the power to declare war, not suggest war, not advise on war, not pick up the phone at 2:00 in the morning because Marco Rubio is telling you, hey, we just went to war, not reading a truth from Donald Trump. Declare it. That power belongs to the legislative branch. Why? Why the legislative branch? Why not the president? Because that would make him a king. We had no king's rallies, which I don't agree with any of that shit anyway, but we had the no king rallies, right? But this is why they left it with the legislative branch, so we would not have a king. So one man or the king could not unilaterally take us to war. The branch closest to the American people, where we are supposed to have representatives that represent us to keep us from having one man do it. Why? Why? It's because the founding fathers had just lived through a king who took them to war whenever he felt like it. Whenever he felt like it. They didn't build this country to have another king. So the no king rallies are like, so I mean, I don't like them because I don't like liberals, and I know their funding is not American, but they're sort of right now, right? I mean, and it's hard for me to, as a conservative, as an independent conservative, as a veteran of the United States, to actually say, well, the no kings rallies, they may be needed right now because, yeah, sort of acting like a king, right? When you hear him talk, he says I a lot. Do you notice? See, and when I was totally on the Trump train before he sort of, like betrayed us, and I'm going to say betrayed because I didn't change. My stance hadn't changed at all. Everything that I voted for him for, I still believe in. Those are still my values, even though he's not living up to it for me. See, but it's hard for me to say, wait, damn, man, the No Kings rally is like, God, man, he put himself in this position though, right? And the founding fathers, they separated the power to start a war from the power to fight one deliberately. We actually had a war and separate the power from the king. So now they try to use the War Powers Resolution of 1973. That never should have happened. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 never should have happened. I know it's for the Vietnam War, but it never should have happened. Because Congress passed this. Just go by the Constitution. And you know what? If you do your freaking job and stop being spineless asswipes, you wouldn't have to have something like the War Powers Resolution and somebody putting in a War Powers Resolution Act and all this bullshit in Congress now. Because you know what? Congress passed it after Vietnam to put guardrails on presidential war making. Well, guess what? It's already in the Constitution. This War Powers Resolution it says that if, and I wonder if Donald Trump is going to agree to this. Right? He says the War Powers, I can do anything I want. So it says, if you guys don't know and haven't read it, it says that the president introduces, if the president introduces forces into hostilities, he has to notify Congress within 48 hours. Notify, I mean, hey, Marco Rubio called the Speaker of the House. Hey, guy, guess what we just did? Phone call. Call me. So they have to notify Congress within 48 hours, and he has to end the operation within 60 days unless Congress authorizes it. However, he has 45 days, right? So here's the thing. And he has 45 days to actually get a authorization of military force from Congress, and or at least an authorization, and he has 60 days to end it unless Congress actually authorizes it. We're on day 29. Actually, day what? 31. Shit, never see when that start. February 28th. This is the 29th. So we're on day 31. 29 is when I get ready to produce this show when I'm working on the show. But the clock is still running. Has Congress voted? Nope. Has Congress passed a AUMF? Nope. Has there been a formal declaration of war? Nope. And this is why I say all 535 members of Congress have to go. And I like Massey. I like Massey a lot. Man, if we getting rid of 534, might as well get rid of 535. Let's just clean the whole barrel, man. Vote all these fuckers out. Just vote in people new. Don't care. Yeah, I don't care. Both parties. We need independence. We need Americans. That's what we need. We don't need freaking Republicans and Democrats. We don't need the two-party system anymore. We really need to widen this thing out because these people are just sellouts. So this war is still running on executive authority alone. And I need you to understand all those people who don't understand civics, right? Who really is rah-rah and yes, I trust President Trump. He's playing 5D chess and he's doing the right thing. You don't know fucking civics. But that's how this is supposed to work. And that's not what what's happening is. That's not what our oath protects. And the silence in Congress is I mean, this is on both sides. This is what's stunning. Totally stunning to me. You have Republicans. Some of the people, and it makes me just go crazy, right? Not crazy like that, but you got Republicans who spent 4 years screaming about executive overreach under Biden. Under Biden. And now they're our guy, right? Because he's the executive. Now their guy starts a war without them, and they're quiet, man. They're quiet. The RR guy starts a war, and they're silent. And some are actually cheering it. You have these Randy Fines, and you have, most of Congress is dual citizens. So you have all these dual citizen Israelis. I mean, they're cheering the war on. They're cheering it on. If this was Joe Biden, do you know that they probably be trying to impeach Joe Biden right now? If this was happening, if this, I mean, 29 days now, 13, dead, 13 that officially that they count. We have people unaccounted for, by the way. I'll just throw that out there. I mean, so you have Democrats who screamed about Trump's disregard for the rule of law. And the loudest thing that that I've heard them say, or the loudest thing that they've done about an unauthorized war is to try to fund TSA separately. You know, they haven't really come out against the war. They really I haven't seen any Democrats file any resolutions to try to stop it. They're trying to fund TSA separately from Homeland Security, and both parties have failed the American people, man. I feel like a refugee, right? I feel like a refugee. I'm a refugee without a party. Not a refugee without a country, because this is my country, but I feel like a refugee without a party. I mean, both parties have abdicated their constitutional responsibility, and that despises me the most. I mean, and when we're talking about the men and women in uniform, the ones actually bleeding in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and Qatar, they deserve better than that. They're out there doing their job, following orders, supposed to be protected from war by the Congress of the United States. And they deserve better than that. My son is in the Air Force. I have skin in this game. So this is not abstract to me. And it really shouldn't be abstract to you either, if you are an American that loves this country, that maybe served this country, and knew somebody that served this country. But if you are an American and you love this country because we have the Constitution of the United States, I mean, I want you to call your congressman. Call him. Let him know. Ask him, why didn't you authorize? Did you authorize the war? If you're in D.C., go ahead. Ask them to their face. Ask them to their face. So I'm going to take a quick little break. I'll be right back. I'm thirsty. It looked like my camera over there is acting up a little bit too. I don't know, man. They're trying to shut down the show. I'm sure they are. But you know what? All right. I'm going to play this clip from Hegseth first, and then I'll be back. I'll let this play while I take a break.
That is why President Trump has drawn a new strategic map from Greenland to the Gulf of America to the Panama Canal and its surrounding countries. At the Department of War, we call this strategic map the Greater North America. Why? Because every sovereign nation and territory north of the equator, from Greenland to Ecuador and from Alaska to Guyana, is not part of the global South.
Dang it, Hegseth. I don't know why it won't play, but okay, here it is.
That is why President Trump has drawn a new strategic map from Greenland to the Gulf of America to the Panama Canal and its surrounding countries. At the Department of War, we call this strategic map the Greater North America. Why? Because every sovereign nation and territory north of the equator, from Greenland to Ecuador and from Alaska to Guyana, is not part of the global South. It is our security perimeter in this great neighborhood that we all live in. Each one of these countries border either the North Atlantic or the North Pacific. Each one of these countries sits north of the two basic geographic barriers that exist in this region, the Amazon and the Andes Mountains. This is basic geography that we don't teach in schools as much as we should. And it restores our north-south relations, and we must get it right. In the north, the United States must enhance posture and presence in cooperation with you and our sovereign partners to defend our shared immediate security perimeter. In the south, meaning south of the equator, the other side of this great neighborhood, we will strengthen partnerships through increased burden sharing. This will enable you to take a greater role to defend the South Atlantic and the South Pacific, and to secure critical infrastructure and resources in partnership with us and other Western nations. This is what we did in World War II, just like we sunk ships with torpedoes in World War II. At the Department of War, we called it the quarter sphere defense. And we will do this again.
So what do you guys think about that? If you want to hear it again, let me know. But what do you guys think about that? Oh, Susan says, worries me about going nuclear. Well, hey, yeah, nothing to worry about. You won't feel it. I'm sorry. Bad joke. I'm sorry. I mean, like Carolyn said, you have these people cheering this on, but they don't have the first service member in the family. They don't have anybody in, probably. I mean, well, this is where we are, right? So this is what that line, he wants to redraw the map. He wants to redraw the map. Obviously, he doesn't understand Rome, what happened to Rome. But here's an update as well. They talk about negotiating, right? It seems like every time Trump puts a pause on something and says we're negotiating, then somebody else from Iran gets killed. A negotiator, right? And he made a joke, well, we want to talk, but it seems like everybody we negotiate is dead and keep getting killed. Well, that's because you keep setting them up by Israel. So Israeli jets struck a leadership meeting in Bandar Abbas on March 26th. I'll say this because this wasn't in the news. So it killed Alireza Tangsiri, a IRGC Navy commander running the Strait blockade. Plus, intelligence chief Behnam Rezai, and I don't know how to pronounce these names, and I'm sorry, and the rest of the IRGC Naval Top Command CENTCOM confirmed this. Admiral Cooper issued a surrender appeal to remaining IRGC Navy members, and the strait is still closed. The strait is still closed on March 26th. This is what happened. On that day, that same very day, President Trump extended his hand, what he's calling a pause, what he called a pause on striking Iranian infrastructure. 10 more days until April 6th. And this is what the pause said. You guys may have heard it or read it, but he said that as per his Truth Social, as per Iranian government request, saying that the Iranian government requested it. Please let this statement serve to represent that I am pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days. Talks are ongoing and they are going very well. They are going very well. Well, you know what? Iran's foreign minister has said that they have no intention of talking to the United States. Iran's state broadcaster said that they reject the U.S. peace proposal. An Iranian military spokesman went on television. You guys see him? If you guys, you might not see him here. You guys have to go online and see this stuff, man. You guys have to maybe go to RT TV or Al Jazeera or something other than United States. You won't see it on us because we're black, that we're censored here very much so. And there used to be a censor that the war footage from Tel Aviv used to be censored. Now it's all over the place. Why? Why is it all over the place now? Why is it that when Israel's blowing up something or they're, genocide in Gaza, it's not televised, right? But now that Israel is getting the shit knocked out of them, it's all over the place on social media, right? Well, that's because they're trying to get sympathy now. Because you know what? They always play the victim. They always play the victim. And it's not all Jews, but it's always Jews. It's not always them, but it's always them, if you understand what I'm saying, right? So the Iranian spokesman went on television and said, and I am reading this directly right now. I'm looking at it and I'm reading it directly, so I don't want to misquote anybody. He said, "Don't dress up your defeat as an agreement." That doesn't look like somebody that think they've lost. Your era of empty promises has come to an end. This is the negotiation. Hey, we're pausing to negotiate. Hey, Israel kills another guy. You know, that's not going very well for us. That's humiliation. That is humiliation. The guy gets us, read it and says, "Don't dress up your defeat as an agreement. Your era of empty promises have come to an end." That don't sound like we've won. That doesn't sound like, hey man, we won. That that doesn't sound like this. Hold on. I have to play this again because that doesn't sound anything like this.
The president's preference is always peace. There does not need to be any more death and destruction. But if Iran fails to accept the reality of the current moment, if they fail to understand that they have been defeated militarily and will continue to be, President Trump will ensure they are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal.
So it's going to be Iran's fault. You hear that? It's going to be Iran's fault. It's going to be Iran's fault because Iran says, "Don't dress up your defeat as an agreement. Your era of empty promises have come to an end." It's going to be Iran's fault. If there's any more violence, it's Iran's fault because they refuse to say, "Nah, bro." They refuse to say, "Nah, bro, we're not done yet." It's going to be their fault, right? It's going to be their fault that we have to bomb you. It's your fault because we have to bomb you because you won't quit, because you won't give up. It has to be your fault, right? This is embarrassing. I mean, the administration through, and every time I go through these names, I just see the people that Trump has surrounded himself with. So supposedly the administration, and these people have said they don't even want to talk to Steve Witkoff anymore, right? They want to talk to J.D. Vance. This is what Iran. If you guys don't understand, Iran's calling the shots, right? Because they told them, Trump, we don't want to talk to Witkoff. We don't want to talk to Kushner. The only person we're going to talk to is J.D. Vance. And what does President Trump does? He puts up J.D. Vance in front to go and break the deal. You guys notice that? That wasn't Trump. Because, Trump want his boys. And he don't want J.D. Vance to, because that's going to make J.D. Vance look presidential. You guys have to understand. You guys have to understand this right here. Because through Steve Witkoff, he presented, I ran with the 15-point peace framework, and it was delivered through Pakistan. And Iran said, what? Get out of here, man. And that was the same day that Trump said, well, the talks were going great. No, they weren't. Dude, they told the Pakistani guy, go screw yourself. Tell them, he told them, tell them, don't dress your defeat up as an agreement. Your era of empty promises have come to an end. They gave Trump the finger. They're like, nah, bro, we ain't going down like that. So Iran came back with 5 conditions of their own, right? 5 conditions. You want to know what they want? Have you guys heard these? You want to know what they want? A complete halt to all military actions. This is Iran. This is what they want. This is the team, or this is the guy, this is the country that you said, hey man, take your ass whooping, I beat your ass to take the L. They want a complete halt to all military actions. They want war reparations, money from us to war reparations. Shit, I want I want slave reparations. Fuck off all that bullshit. Right? I want reparations before Iran get them. Hey. But they want war reparations. They want an end to attacks on Hezbollah and pro-Iranian militias in Iraq. And this is the one that kills any deal. International recognition of Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. They want it known through the world that Iran controls the Straits of Hormuz. Iran wants the world to officially recognize that they own the Strait of Hormuz. And of course, that's a non-starter for the United States. That's a non-starter for Israel, for every Gulf state, and for the global oil market. Non-starter. So there it is. No world in which that deals get done in 10 days. None. Zero. There's nowhere on earth, no world where that happens, right? See, here's another part that the White House isn't advertising. They killed the admiral, but guess what? The strait is still closed. The strait is still closed. Israel killed the guy, Tangziri, the same day that Trump extended the pause. They killed the man. The man personally running the Strait of Hormuz blockade. They killed him. Israel doesn't want peace. Israel doesn't want peace. They hit, and they always hitting these guys in meetings, man. They always hitting these guys when things are going in meetings, when they're negotiating. They always want to hit these guys, and they kill them in their meetings. And then this freaking Admiral Barrett Cooper of CENTCOM after this, do you think they're getting a little pissed off about getting killed when they're having negotiation meetings? And you guys want these guys to surrender? A public surrender appeal to what's left of the IRC Navy. This guy said, dude, go screw yourself, man. And guess what? The strait is still closed. Think about what that tells you. Israel and the United States, we decapitated, and Trump will tell you, we decapitated the entire Iranian naval command structure. And the blockade is still holding, the straits are still closed. Why? Because it isn't about one man there. It isn't about one man. It's about policy. See, people thought that, and this administration and a lot of Americans that believe the bullshit about Iran, they think, oh, it's about one man. It's about one man controlling the entire country. Well, as you see, it's not. It's not about one man. It's about policy. It's about their infrastructure. Guess what? It seems that they have better infrastructure than we do, better policy than we do. It's mines and missiles and 1,800 armed speedboats. They don't need a commander to know their mission. They already been given their mission. They already know. They already understand. Next man up. They understand the policy. They understand the infrastructure. We killed the admiral. We killed the admiral, or Israel killed the admiral, but we didn't kill the strategy. April 6th is coming soon. Deadline is ticking, right? So here's what I think is actually happening. I'm going to check the chat real quick. Sorry. Allergies, man. It's allergy season, right? Hey, Lisa. Okay, here's a couple of things. I'm going to hit the chat for a second because it's some things in here. A lot of people refer to Trump as Nero. You know what happened to him? So Susan says she saw my post about the email, the Cash email hack. Yeah, Cash's email didn't get hacked. You guys have to understand that. It wasn't Cash's email that got hacked. It was Israel IDF that got hacked. and it's a bunch of stuff that they're threatening to release after once they go through. But Cash's email, they put out some stuff on Cash, but it wasn't his email that got hacked. It was Israel and the IDF servers that got hacked. So stand by for that. Joe say Donald J. Trump's daily briefing is 3 minutes. Gun camera footage of Iran being blown up. Yeah, I don't think he's being told everything. When Donald Trump, I think he said he finds out stuff on the news. When we find out, he finds out about it. I believe he actually said that in one of those conferences or whatever he had. Well, I didn't find out about it until I saw it on the news. Can you believe that? He said it. I didn't. Don't be mad at me. I'm glad you're here, Lisa. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Jamie, what's up, boy? I see you. So, so this is what I think. Let me just my analysis, my analysis based on and I'm sure you probably can sum it up because I just ramble sometimes, but my analysis based on 27 years of watching how these things work, being a part of them, being on the Admiral staff, watching it in full time, watching it live, being there live, participating live. So I want to be clear on it. One of the assets are not in position yet. They're not. I hear from lawyer friends of mine that a lot of the Marines that's on these vessels are filing conscientious objector petitions and requests to not go, to not be a part of this. So that's something that's happening. The Pentagon, from what I understand, is considering sending up to 10,000 additional ground troops to the Middle East, somewhere that we're winning. So you have to listen to Trump. I mean, this is why it doesn't make sense, right? This is why it doesn't make sense. I mean, because if we've won, right? Why are we sending 10,000 additional ground troops to the Middle East to get slaughtered? You don't. I need to probably have Pete Hegseth's job, right? You don't send 10,000 ground troops because you're winning. You don't move billion-dollar assets that's costing you billions of dollars a day because you're winning. You send 10,000 ground troops because you're preparing for something bigger. And reports have surfaced, I'll say that the U.S., of course, may be planning, you guys heard this, I'm sure, to seize Karg Island. And for you guys don't know, that's Iranian's oil export, the main terminal in the Persian Gulf, right? And that's not their only one. That's their main one. You guys have to understand that, right? So when we put Marines on there, it's just the biggest one. It's the deepest, right? You think you can do up to 2 tankers at a time or something like that. So this is what we want to control. So when Iran blows that the fuck up, when Iran blows that up with Marines on that, they're not going to care because they have another one. So if we're trying to do that, that's going to be a massive escalation, and it's not going to fare well because you have to get to the island, you have to navigate, you have to get on the island, you have to secure the island. And I guess Hegseth and Trump think that they're going to do this without any fire. Yeah, they say they got A-10 Warthogs and they got Apache helicopters, but I mean, what happens when they get shot down? They have. Trump said, "Oh yeah, they're missile structure, and they don't have anything to shoot at us with. It's all been destroyed, and they're still shooting down planes, man. They haven't even used them yet." These idiots actually believe that Iran doesn't have surface-to-air missiles. They haven't used them yet. Why? They're going to wait. Dude, they've planned this for 40 years. This is a 40-year preparation. I don't even think we're prepared for this. We just said what we were going to do. We're just going to bomb them and they're going to quit. These dudes, we're writing the script as we go. We're writing the script as we go. This hasn't been planned. Because if it's been planned, you will understand that history, they've did war planning on this situation for years. And they keep coming up with the same thing. We can't do it. Don't do it. It's a suicide mission. You can't tell Hegseth and Trump that. So don't get mad. I'm just telling you, the American people, don't get mad when these guys come home in body bags. Don't get mad at Iran, I should say. Let me say that. Because if it was us, if we were being attacked, we would do whatever it took to defend our country. We would, if China attacked the United States, if Russia attacked Alaska, through Alaska and attacked the United States, we would do everything possible to defend our country. So don't believe Trump when he says, oh, it's your fault if the violence continues because you're defending your country. It's your fault. What kind of fucking idiot would say that? What idiot would tell another country, if any more violence occurs, it's your fault because we told you to quit because you didn't stop when we wanted you to? What? So a ground operation, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for saying that. But we're gonna have a lot of people come back in body bags if we drop people on the ground. I don't care what badass and I already know we got SEAL teams on the way. I know people. They're being deployed. I know them. They're going there. And I may not ever see any of them again. Some of these people some of these people have family members watching this show, have family members. They may not ever see them again. So I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that being callous or mean. I'm saying that being truthful. The President of the United States and Pete Hegseth are sending your people into a meat grinder. And they're not going to come out. So an occupation in any multiple mediating nations have warned the United States forces that they can take that they can't, even if we do, okay, even if we do take the island, let's say that. Let's say, okay, we're badasses, we get on there, man, we get on the rushing the beach. You have to you guys need to understand where this island, these places are, right? And you have to understand what Iran has. You really have to understand that this is a suicide mission. And I mean, this is worse than Normandy. This is going to be something like the beaches of Normandy. This is not going to be Iwo Jima. This is going to be like the beaches of Normandy. This is not going to be the Tet Offensive in Vietnam. This is going to be like Normandy. Rushing the beach. They're going to die before they get to the beach. They're going to die before they get off the boats. And those that do make it to the beach. So what happens? What happens when you get on the island? What happens when you take the island? Now, I need you guys to visualize this. People that don't know that or don't understand war. What happens when you get on the island? How are you going to hold it? How are you going to hold it? How are you going to hold the island? Because that would require prolonged military commitment. So you're talking Now, what? Iraq, years, Afghanistan. How are you going to hold it? How are you going to defend against the missiles that they're going to shoot on that island, that they're going to shoot at the island? How are you going to hold the island when they blow it up? How? How are you going to do that? I mean, because this should sound familiar. It should. Iraq, Afghanistan, 20 plus years, trillions of dollars. And guess what? And we left. And we left because we couldn't win. And Trump says that he expects this war to be over within 4 to 6 weeks. He is out of his mind. We're at day 29. We're at day 29. The strait is still closed. Iran still has its missiles. Hezbollah is back in action. Yemen is back in action. The Houthis fired again at Israel tonight. So this is not 4 to 6 weeks. This is a president managing optics while the military tries to get in position. This is what this is. This is just an extended pause. So this is pause. This is not peace. Understand that. This is a breath. It's not even a breath because Israel is still punching before the next punch. And so this is Jarome Bell. This is the Radical Republicans live show. And I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be right back in a little bit. I have to break in between these hours now, man. I have to. So let me jam this. Okay, so we'll be back. In about 3 minutes. All right, I'm back. Actually, Iwo Jima had a game plan, didn't include man-pod missiles and suicide drones. I know, right, Joe? That's what Joe said about Iwo Jima. Iwo Jima. Thank you, Joe, for putting this up. June 19th, February 19th to March 26, 1945, 26,000 casualties. Okinawa, April 1st, 1945 to June 22nd, 1945, 50,000 casualties. It's not going to be pretty, man. And what's going to happen is when these guys die, he's going to send more because he's going to have to avenge the deaths of the American soldiers that die. He's going to just keep ramping up because he don't want to say he's getting his ass kicked. He don't want to look like, I mean, so it's good. I mean, because we have this guy with like one of the biggest egos, man. I mean, he even said on live that the Saudi Arabian guy, the prince Ben Salami or whatever his name is, right? But he's kissing my ass. I'm like, dude. Who says that, man? Who who says that live out loud? Who says it out loud, man, in public? Well, yeah, he's kissing my ass and telling me better be really nice to me. But he was saying, well, telling me better keep kissing my ass. Who says that? Who does that? How does that make every other leader in these other Middle Eastern countries feel? How does it make Ben Salami feel? And I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I don't care. Ben Salame, Salam, Salim, whatever. Salami just sounds right to me. You know, and but who says that, man? That is, I mentioned this border peace. Let me tell you this big scam. You have to follow the money, man. You have to follow the money. So while you watching airports fall apart and soldiers die in Kuwait and people dying in Saudi Arabia, something else happened. Again, like I told you, the State Department transferred $1.25 billion, actually, not even million, billion with the B, and taxpayer money to President Trump's Board of Peace, his board, the King's Board, during a partial government shutdown without a vote in Congress. They did it while the government was shut down, man. So where'd the money come from? $1 billion from, here you go, International Disaster Assistance, the fund that's supposed to help people after earthquakes, floods, and hurricanes. $200 million, that was $1 billion. $200 million from peacekeeping operations, $50 million from international organizations. So they pulled it from programs designed to help the world's most vulnerable people and sent it to a board with no transparency, no oversight, and no accountability to Congress. So what is the Board of Peace? The Board of Peace is Donald Trump's personal international organization. I didn't think the President of the United States could do that as per the Constitution, right? Is anybody going to hold this man accountable to the freaking Constitution at all? So that's his own personal international organization. He's the chairman. I didn't think the President of the United States could be a chairman of something else while he was President of the United States. And he will remain the chairman even after he leaves the presidency. So basically, he just gave himself $1.25 billion. See, does this make sense to any freaking body? Even you cult members, even the MAGA cult members that agree with everything that President Trump does is right. Does this even make sense to you? He just gave himself $1.25 billion of taxpayer money to his board. Does that make sense? So what happens when countries want a permanent seat, right? You guys got to get this. So countries that want a permanent seat. Hold on, I was jamming or something. It costs $1 billion. You pay $1 billion, get a seat. Don't pay, you get a and you get a 3-year appointment. And Trump told us this. This is what Trump told us too. U.S. would give $10 billion total to this board. So understand. Did you guys just get that? Did you just get it? Trump told us that the U.S. was going to give him $10 billion as his board. They're going to give him $10 billion. So now here's what the Board of Peace has done so far. It has not transferred a single dollar to Gaza. It has not disclosed how it plans to spend any of the money. It has offered zero transparency about its investments or It's operations. So what it has done is convene a meeting where Jared Kushner presented a $30 billion vision for Gaza. And this is the Kushner plan. And I got about 15 minutes left, and I gotta see if how much of this I'm gonna get into. And I hope this plan fails, and I hope if they do this that every person, and I mean this with sincerity, every person that's a part of this get inflicted with the most painful disease or something known to man, and they suffer greatly. So here's the Jared Kushner plan. He wants to build on the rubble of Gaza, on the blood and the bodies that's still buried in the bones of all of the people of Gaza that was moved out, that were murdered there, that was genocided there. He wants to build on that. A coastal tourism zone. 180 skyscrapers. 100,000 housing units near Rafah. A new industrial center. Hotels. Luxury development. And this is the actual language that's in there, right? A Mediterranean Riviera. Gaza, where over 72,000 Palestinians have been murdered, have been killed. They've pushed off 90% of the population, have been displaced, probably 100%. They have this little corner of Gaza where they have them at. Schools, hospitals, universities, and farmland have been destroyed. People are still buried under the rubble. That's where Jared Kushner wants to build 180 skyscrapers. This is where the Board of Peace wants to start their operations. This is where Donald Trump, our president of the United States, said that we were going to give 10 billion of your tax money, and 1.25 billion of it moved this week without Congress. Who is the entity that's supposed to make that happen if it was going to happen? They have the power of the purse. This is not foreign policy. I need you guys to understand that. And a bunch are going to say, oh, well, they're going to be, and you hear Trump say this shit. Oh, we're going to rebuild Gaza so they can come back and it'll be a place that they were there. Stop it, man. This is a freaking real estate deal. And we're financing it. The American people is the financing arm of this real estate deal. So just stop it. And I don't care if you love Trump. I don't care if you hate him. I don't care what party you're in. This is your money. This is our money. And you deserve to know where it's going. Congress is supposed to control the purse. They didn't vote on this, not one vote. And so ask your member of Congress why. Ask why is Donald Trump giving himself $10 billion of our money to lavish in when he leaves the presidency as the chairman of the Board of Peace? No, I was going to get into the TSA stuff. I'm not going to get into that tonight. I might get into that next week. Might not, because I rambled a little bit. I'm just pissed off right now. Really angry at that. You should be too. You should be too. I mean, so this is truly a forefront war now. This is the Houthis and Hezbollah and the wider war. This is Israel. Israel is talking about greater Israel, and Donald Trump is talking about greater North America. What? And we're the bank. We're the bank. The stupid American people are the bank. You know, and when I was getting ready for this show, while our troops were getting wounded in Saudi Arabia, the Houthis, like I said, they jumped back into the fight. They jumped back into the fight. So I think Iran is winning the narrative war, to be honest. Here's something you won't hear. You won't hear, and I'm going to wrap this up with this, though. Because you're not going to hear this on the mainstream networks. You're going to, Iran state media. And I know they say, oh, you can't listen to Iran state media. Well, can we listen to ours? Because ours have blackout. You don't hear the truth. Iran is calling this a victory for real. Their parliament is codifying control of the straits. The military commanders are vowing to fight an invasion inch by inch. And I don't feel good about us dropping troops in there. I don't. Their foreign minister says the exchange of messages with the U.S. through mediators doesn't even constitute negotiations. He said, I'm not listening to third parties. I don't care. I'm not listening. We're not negotiating. You sending shit through Pakistan doesn't matter to us. We're not listening. And you know what? On the straits, they're right. They still control it. I mean, we haven't opened it, and we really can't. And the oil market knows it. Stocks are still falling. What was it? 700 and something more points lost on Friday. Energy prices are spiking, right? President of the United States, Trump, said this will be a 4 to 6 weeks war. And he said we've won in many ways. What is he talking about? Is he looking? Okay, we've bombed, and they're bragging about this. Oh, we've bombed. You have these people on Bannon's show and these captains and all this shit. They talk about, oh, we've bombed 10,000 targets. We're winning. We've bombed 10,000 targets. We had 1,000 targets. We're bombing 1,000 targets a day. Straits are still closed. And then you know what Trump said after he said we won a million? They said, oh, it's just the beginning of building a new country. That's what he said. It's just the beginning of building a new country. And then Witkoff, this Israeli shill that's Zionist, said Iran needs to see this as an inflection point with no good alternatives. I don't see that as language of a man who's won. That's the language of a man who needs 10 more days. He needs 10 more days. But this is why we do this show, not to entertain you, not to make you feel good. We do this show to tell you the truth. I mean, to look at the facts, to lay them out and let you decide, because I know you're not stupid. People that watch this show is not stupid. Even the trolls that come in every now and then, they're not stupid. They just want to come in and talk shit. But you know what? You don't need somebody to think for you. You need someone who's willing to say what the networks and what the people around you and what your government won't say. At least 13 Americans are dead that they will admit to. At least 302 are wounded. We're 4 fronts now open. We're battling the one Iran front, but there's 4 fronts. We have to acknowledge that because we're in this with Israel. They took us here, and our leaders got led by the nose here. So this unauthorized war is spreading. It's spreading. Make no doubt about that. It's spreading. $1 billion of disaster relief money got funneled to a board that's building luxury hotels where the president of the United States is the board chairman. Let that sink in. TSA workers are donating plasma to pay their bills. That's just this week. That's this week. That's the news, and we're going to keep covering it every Sunday night right here on the Radical Republicans live show, uncensored, unfiltered, unedited, unscripted, definitely unapologetic. And I want you guys to share the show. So if the show meant something to you, if my show, 'cause I actually work hard to bring you this show every Sunday night, and I do it myself. I produce my own show. I research everything for myself. People don't give me. I don't have a team of people giving this to me. So send it to somebody who needs to hear it. You know, I mean, and I'm shadow banned, so the algorithm is not our friend. Word of mouth is. You have to get it out. You're the distribution network. Because I've been shadow banned since 2020. So use it, okay? I'm gonna throw. Well, the platforms is rumble.com, user Jarome Bell at Rumble, YouTube at Chief Jarome Bell. You can find it. Getter, you can find the link in the show notes. Subscribe, star, go there, check it out. I want you guys to definitely um, share all three platforms for me. So before I leave, though, I got about 4 minutes. I may just take it over because I really want to talk about the refounding. The Federalist 10 continued, okay? Because I sort of think it's important. I last week I introduced it to you, James Madison, Federalist number 10, and it was published November 22nd, 1787. And it was the Union as a safeguard against domestic faction and insurrection. Okay, and I asked you last week. Well, and Madison defined a faction as any group of citizens united by a passion or interest adverse to the rights of other citizens or adverse to the permanent and aggregate interests of the community. His words, not mine. And I asked you last week, what does a faction look like in 2026? So I'm going to answer that question tonight. I left with that question. We're going to answer that because everything we covered on this show tonight, the unauthorized war, the 1.25 billion transferred to the board with no oversight, the TSA workers donating plasma while ICE gets 75 billion. The Strait of Hormuz still closed while the president says we won. All of it is a faction operating in plain sight. And don't forget, Madison said you cannot eliminate the causes of faction without destroying liberty itself. You can't outlaw passion. You can't outlaw interest. So the solution, his solution, the Constitution's solution was to design a system that controlled the effects. This is why they distributed power. They separated it. They required consent. They made it hard for any one group to capture the whole machine. So let me ask you, what happens when the machine gets captured anyway? What happens when one faction, and I'm talking about a party, I'm talking about an interest, gains control of the executive branch, gains control of the Congress, gains control of the foreign policy apparatus, gains control of the defense budget and the war making power all simultaneously? What happens when that faction can start a war without Congress? Move $1 billion without a vote and pay some essential workers while starving others, all based on which workers serve the faction's agenda. Madison called that the tyranny of faction. And he said a large republic with representative government was the antidote. Representatives who filter public passion through reason, distributed power that prevents capture. A system where no one group can dominate the whole. But here's what Madison didn't fully account for. And I say this with the deepest respect for the man because he was the greatest political mind this country has truly ever produced. He didn't fully account for what happens when the representatives themselves become the faction. When the Congress that's supposed to check The executive, they just don't. When the constitutional guardrails are still written on paper, but nobody enforces them. And that's where we are. An unauthorized war on day 31. At least 13 Americans dead, at least 302 wounded. No vote, no declaration, no accountability. So what's the answer? And Madison gave us the republic. We have to choose to use it. And that's where my America Only platform is, and that's what the refounding, I'm going to keep preaching that every week. That's where the refounding of America is. It's not a rejection of Madison. Okay. It's a return to what he envisioned. It's a return to him. No foreign wars without a declaration. The abolishment of the Federal Reserve, the faction that controls your currency without a vote. That was the IRS. We need to abolish that. The enforcement arm of a tax system the founders never intended. We have to end property taxes because a man who pays rent to the government to own his own land is never truly free. And I believe an immigration moratorium is definitely needed because sovereignty is not negotiable. We need to get out of NATO. We need to get out of the UN because entangling alliances are exactly the kind of factions Madison warned against operating at the international level. So the refounding is not radical. It's a restoration. I want you guys to understand that. It is Madison applied to 2026. That's what the refounding is. But next week we go deeper. Next week we're going to get into Federalists. Well, if we do a show on Easter, maybe the next week. Okay, if you get the notification or if you know me or text me, I'll let you know. But we're going to dig the next show. I'll say that we're going to dive in deeper to Federalist number 51. We're going to because ambition, what Federalist number 51, ambition must be made to counteract ambition. What is this? And because right now on the war powers question alone, ambition is running unopposed. And Madison told us exactly what that leads to. All right, so stay with me. This is a series. This is the education. This is going to be the refounding. And now before we go, got one more obligation and we're just going to play it. So the most important thing we do on this show right now, we're going to say the names of the 13 that were wounded, and we're going to end the show the way we ended it last week, at least with taps anyway. So Major Jeffrey O'Brien, Chief Warrant Officer Robert Marzon, Captain Cody Cork, Sergeant First Class Nicole Amor, Sergeant First Class Noah Tegens, Sergeant Declan Cody, Sergeant Benjamin Pennington, Major John Klenner, Captain Ariana Savino, Captain Seth Koval, Captain Curtis Angst, Technical Sergeant Ashley Pruitt, Technical Sergeant Tyler Simmons, and also fallen non-combat Major Sorfleet Davies. He passed away March 6th. And so that's the update. So we're going to go out giving them their tribute we do for fallen soldiers. And I'll see you guys on the next show.